Good afternoon, folks. This is Joshua Collins from Louisiana State University. Today we are going to be going through the SkeeterSat assembly and inventory. Before we got started, I want to show you real quick what the final product is going to look like. So I have a already assembled SkeeterSat here with all the components already attached, and the board itself is very simple, and it's going to make this beeping noise. So the SkeeterSat is a relatively simple board. There is two timers on here that are dependent on both light and temperature, and we'll be going to go through a bit how that works here. So we have here, one second. Where did it go? The schematic of the SkeeterSat, and this is available both online on the SPC website, and you should be able to get a printout of it easily from there. So there's a couple of things I wanted to point out about the SkeeterSat here. There's one major chip on the board, which is this U1 device here, which is a dual timer. And on here, it creates two little timers on here that utilize these resistors up here and these resistors over here to create the beeping effect that you just heard there on the SkeeterSat as I showed you there. The first one over here, you can see here there is an LS1 sensor that is a light sensitive resistor. The resistance there varies depending on the amount of light that hits the sensor. And real quick, that is this sensor here. That particular resistor determines how frequently the speaker is going to beep. And then these resistors over here, the most important right here is TM1, which is a thermistor. Varies what the actual beep sounds like, the frequency of it. This will be in the order of hundreds of hertz. And part of the activity that we're going to be going through both this week and the coming week is actually calibrating and measuring what the frequency of the speaker is based off of various temperatures that we expose this thermistor for. So that's a bit of the base of the operation of how this device works. We'll be going to get more into it a little bit later. But first things first, what you need to do is you should have your SkeeterSat kits with you. And inside of there, you should find a SkeeterSat packing list, which is a list of all the various components in the SkeeterSat kit. And it's very important that you go through and verify that all of these components are in the kit. If you are missing any components, do let me know. That way I can make sure that you get those components as quickly as you can. So real quick, the component. So we have some feet here, some rubber feet. You should have a little foam pad with some components on it. You should have a battery supply. Oops, my speaker came out here. You should have a little index card with a couple of your thermistors and your photoresistors on here. And you should have a small packet here with some components inside. So what we highly recommend you do is first get a blank piece of paper and open up your yellow packet and try to identify all of the individual resistors in here and capacitors. So here is a little diode. You see a bunch of the resistors, the capacitors. Separate them as you need, and then you're going to reference either the SkeeterSat assembly manual, which actually specifies what each of the resistors color bands are if you're having some struggle with it, or refer to our previous lecture on resistors to identify what resistors are which. Alternatively, you can refer to the activity where you measured the resistance. You can actually use your multimeter to measure the resistance of each of these resistors to verify what their values are for a quicker, easier way of doing. So what I recommend that you do is you on your sheet here, you see we have a designator next to each of these resistors and components. Go ahead on your sheet and write R1, and that one's going to be 10K. And then you should go through, identify which resistor is 10K, 100K, which that one should be a brown, black, yellow FET, which I believe that is this one here. And then you'll want to get a piece of tape and tape it next to where you have written down the value. And you'll want to go through and do that for every single component in the packing list here and to verify that they're in there. This is something that you should do for any of the kits